and welcome to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. In the last show of the year, we wanted to make sure that we ended 2014 with a guest that I know everyone wants to hear from, and that's the great mayor of the city of Memphis, Mayor AC Wharton. He's going to be our guest on Dialogue with Deidre today. And what we're going to talk about is everything that's going on with city government, from the health care issue, from the pension issue, from the announcement last week that the city of Memphis is probably going to settle with Shelby County Schools for the millions of dollars that they owe. Mayor Wharton has had some major challenges in the last few years, and we're going to discuss them on this issue of Dialogue with Deidre. If you have a question that you want us to ask Mayor Wharton, then post it on the Dialogue with Deidre Facebook page, or email me at deidre@deidremalone.com, and we will ask the mayor the question while we're on the air, and if not, I'll make sure that he gets the question, and he'll follow up with us, and we'll post it on the Dialogue with Deidre Facebook page. We'll be back in a moment.
Candy, and on behalf of MUTV1, we would like to wish you a happy holiday and many more to come. Stay beautiful.
Hello, friends. I'm concerned about the health of our African American community. According to the American Heart Association, our rates of high blood pressure in the U.S. are among the highest in the world. And diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and smoking are causing us to suffer and die from stroke at alarming rates. In 3 John 2, the Bible says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." Visit powertoendstroke.org and become empowered to take care of your health. You are the power to end stroke.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Welcome back to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. I want to, before we start this show, wish everyone a very Merry Christmas. Christmas is this week, and this is our last show of the year. And as a part of that, we wanted to end this year with a bang. And we thought that it would be a great idea to have the great mayor of the city of Memphis, AC Wharton, in our studio for the last show of the year. Mayor Wharton, welcome to Dialogue with Deidre.
Deidre, this is my first time on Dialogue with Deidre. Thank you for allowing me to visit. And again, I want to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and same to all of our great citizens and residents of our city. Just a Merry Christmas. So thanks. This is a special time, and thanks for letting me come by.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. The same well wishes to you, specifically for a great 2015, because we believe it's going to be great.
Oh, it's going to be great. Listen, our unemployment rate is beginning to drop. Director Armstrong is getting crime under control. His community-oriented policing is working. The Attorney General came here to take a look at it. New jobs come into town. I always say it's about jobs, jobs, jobs. And in looking back at 2014, it was a tumultuous year. Some things we had to make, which I just dreaded, but we just had to do that. But that's behind us now.
Right.
We're getting on a firm financial footing. Some of this money that the government was making us pay into this and pay into that, we're going to be able in 2015, we announced the other day, we called Safe Pathways to School, where we're going to guarantee that the sidewalk is clean.
That's so
beer
important.
Bottles so we're going to be able to do more things like that. And that's why I'm so excited about 2015.
Well, look, let's just take a quick look back at 14 real quick, and let's start off talking about the healthcare issue. I mean, was that a tough decision? I mean, fiscally,
sure.
I know you needed to make some changes, but how did you reconcile that, Mayor?
Oh, it was very difficult. It's been one of the most difficult decisions I had to make. Healthcare is an essential. It's not an option.
Right.
And that's why folks get so agitated and concerned the minute you touch it. But we were just up against the wall. We were spending a total of $120 million a year on health care. Retiree health care alone was about $30 to $32 million. It would be fine if we had the money, but we did not have the money. The employees had already increased their portions. So I want to make this very clear. This is not a blame the greedy employees. It was forces bigger than the city of Memphis, bigger than the employees. And we were just forced to make some change. But fortunately, we were able to work with some good community partners and do some things that we'd never done before. We've got a full-time clinic now, free of charge, that city employees can get into. We made a commitment that not one employee would go without insurance, good insurance. Same thing with retirees. And so we did that. So some good came of it. Is it the same as it once was? No. Nothing in healthcare remains the same. But we've gotten that part behind us. We're still working through it. And running in tandem with that was the pension payments.
Right.
That the state told us, hey, you're not funding the employees' pension plan. The recession that killed our investments. Again, everybody wants to find somebody bad. It wasn't that the employees were greedy and doing too much. It's just that the investments which we used to pay the pension checks, they weren't performing as a result of the recession. So we ended up with a shortfall in there. So we had to make that up. But working together with the council, with support from the community, we were able to make changes, something other cities have not done, and those cities are going into deep, deep trouble. We have avoided that.
I've read somewhere that Nashville now, they're looking at their pension issue, and we know people want to compare us to Detroit. We're not Detroit.
No, we're nowhere near that.
Nowhere near that, but that's what they want to do,
Right.
and we know that. But there are a lot of major cities across this country that have had to do the same thing that you've had to do this year.
Listen, cities and states.
Okay.
As a matter of, even at the federal level, with Democrats voting for it just a couple of weeks ago, private pensions are guaranteed by the government, but they saw that they weren't going to be able to sustain what they were doing. So they made some changes. And again, it wasn't just a bunch of Republicans. Democrats joined in to the changes. So the whole idea of pensions is changing everywhere, not just here locally, but everywhere.
Okay. And so, Mayor, so I know it was difficult, specifically when you're dealing with current employees. People don't like change.
No.
But sometimes you just have to adjust. But the retiree piece,
Oh.
some people feel like, and you've heard this over and over, people feel like the city, and not necessarily under your leadership,
Right.
made a promise to retirees. And so to go back now with the health care piece and then with the pension, how did you reconcile that?
Sure. Let me, I don't want to take up all the time on one question,
Yes.
but I have to be a little bit deliberate on this one.
I think that's important.
I said a few minutes ago that every year the city of Memphis spends $32 million on retiree health care. Now, we don't have an insurance company. It's
Right.
not as if we pay somebody $1 million premium and then they pay off $32 million. What the company that we call an insurance company does, Cigna, is they simply administer the program. The money comes right out of the taxpayers' pockets.
Okay.
Right here in this city. We do not have an insurance policy that we pay a monthly premium on, and they foot the bill.
Okay.
Every time we pay a bill for a retiree, that money comes from contributions made by the retirees when they were working and all,
Okay.
and the citizens of Memphis. Now, we were current. Nobody had sued us for not paying in the hospital bills for retirees. But what we were not doing is for those people who are still working for us, we were making promises to them that if you retired age 60, 65, or whatever, regardless of any ailment you come down with, and regardless of how long you live, we're going to cover your insurance. But guess what? If those employees who are working today and who we've made a promise that when you leave here, we're going to cover all your medical bills,
Right.
insurance. If they say, well, Mayor, show me the money, we weren't putting anything in that. So if we had been a private company, they would have shut us down.
Exactly.
Insurers, they have to show what their reserves are, and the Commission of Insurance and Banking checks that bank account. When they say we're going to pay this insurance claim for you in the future, you got to have something to back it up. So we had to quit, well, I won't say lying, we had to quit misleading people into believing that in the future, if they were stricken with cancer, diabetes, stroke, whatever, that we had money to pay their claims. We did not have that money. Matter of fact, we were $1.3 billion on the health care side. So that's why we had to make some changes. See, not only do I have the responsibility of taking care of the folks who are already retired,
Right.
every day someone comes to work, I look them right in their eye and say, when you leave here in 10 years, 20 years, I'm going to pay your health care. I'm going to take care of it for you. Knowing full well that I don't have the money.
Right.
Now, and it's not good to say, just trust me, because AC Wharton won't be here. So that's what that change was all about.
Okay.
Is to make sure that not only can we pay today's obligations, but that when we make a promise that we're going to pay a bill for you 15 years down the road, you can count on it. Until we made these changes, that was not possible.
So, Mayor, was there any time in the process, like every year, were you updating the employees on what was happening with the pension plan, or is that a policy that you're going to start now?
Oh,
Because-
yes, we're going to explain that to everybody. But let me go back to, you asked a very interesting question, because everybody said, well, why did this just come up? Well,
Right.
as soon as I got over there, I went to the council and I said, we cannot sustain this. All the experts came in. And admittedly, some changes were made, but not of the magnitude that we needed to make. So the day of reckoning came when the state got in and said, you got to straighten it out in 5 years. The point I wanted to make is this, because everybody wants to go back and say, well, if the city had been paying all the money it needed to pay into the pension plan, we would not have had this problem.
Right.
That's simply not true. What happened is a recession. 2008 pension plan dropped from around, in 2009, 2010, it dropped from about $2.1 billion, boom, down to 1.5. I said, wait a minute, we've got to stop this. Fortunately, the economy's turning around. But when folks say, well, the city wasn't putting enough money in it, and this is before I got there, so this is not my trying to excuse something.
Right.
What was happening up until the recession is that the investments were churning and burning.
Mm-hmm.
And the city just said, well, the investments are putting the money in. We will be overpaying. And the employees haven't had raises.
Right.
2008, I believe they got a raise. That's before I got there. If someone had said, I want a raise, and the city said, no, we're putting it in the pension, and they looked at the balance sheet, it would have shown that the pension is just spending off all this money. So the employees have said, you're misleading us. The pension is doing well. The investments are doing good. So go in and give me a raise. And that's what happened, quite frankly.
Okay.
They got a 5% raise back in 2008. So it wasn't that somebody did something wrong and cheated the pension. So I know that's been a long answer.
No, but that's,
we
I
needed
think
to give
I think people needed to hear that,
the
because
background. It was nobody was cheating, and I always balance the table. The employees weren't greedy, and the city government was not cheating them.
Right.
There were forces beyond the control. The other thing too, Deidre, is the pension plan was designed in 1948.
How long ago was that?
People were not living as long. Praise the Lord,
Right.
we're living longer now. Particularly black folks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're living longer now, but way back when this plan was put into place, folks weren't living as long. Things have changed. Folks did not marry, divorce, marry. Usually you took a spouse, and then when you got 55, 60, you wouldn't think about marrying. But we got folks now, they retire. 2 or 3. And so we got 2 or 3 families out there. So those things have changed, and this is why we have to come up with a plan that mirrors the times in which we're living.
Well, and I'm glad we have this opportunity to have this discussion in a longer forum for you,
Right.
because normally we just hear the sound bites.
Right. Again,
You know?
I just get so, I hate, you know me, I'm a conciliatory kind of person.
Yes,
and
you
I just hate, and again, this is not defending me, because I wasn't over here in the city of Memphis, but everybody wants to blame the past mayor and said he didn't do it. They want to blame this, that. Well, quite frankly, it was larger than any mayor. It was larger than any union. There was economic forces and plan design that brought us to this situation.
Mayor, you mentioned something earlier about Police Director Tony Armstrong and getting a handle on the crime issue here in Memphis. I know back with the Kroger mob incident, people were up in arms. You were up in arms over that incident. And I think, do you believe that was kind of a catalyst to move forward with some of the initiatives, the summit, and all now?
Yes. What we did as a result of that we had some kind of focus groups of young folks, and they said, nobody's listening to us. So I said to my director of youth services, James Nelson, I said, James, we're going to listen. And we went all over this city listening. I would go in, introduce myself, and then I'd get out of the way.
Okay.
And the young folks sat there and talked and took notes and recorded what they wanted. And we went all over the city. Director Armstrong had a great meeting at Oak Grove Missionary Baptist Church. Reverend Johnson had hundreds of young folks in there. Now, throughout this, I was getting all kind of media heat. He doesn't have a plan, and I kept saying, I want to do it right. This is not a matter of doing it quickly. We want to do it correctly, not necessarily quickly. And we came up with a good plan based on input from young folks. Namely, they were saying, you're not listening to us. And the thing is not very sophisticated. They basically said, we need something to do. And that's what we're working on. I can point at you and say, at your age, you remember Liberty Land.
I do.
And then so many, when we talk to parents, they would say, we need another Liberty Land. We heard them. Now, can I promise Liberty Land? No, I can't promise Liberty Land, but I can promise you one thing. You will have something to do. And just, I give you one example. Right now, at the Benjamin Hooks Library, there's a room in there, it's 2 levels, called the Digital Teen Lab. You see, Deidre, when we came up, you go in and things are very traditional. You take a book off the shelf and read it or whatever, watch TV or something. Young folks these days want to create.
Yes,
they can take all this equipment and this fancy technology you have here. So we've created a digital teen learning lab in which they can go in, they can record a disc if they wish. They can do a TV show. They can do a movie. All sorts of audio. You name it. It's there. A sound room. We have that. So for different children, there are different things. Some may wish, I want to play basketball. Okay, this is why we're going to keep the community centers open. We had summer nights basketball. So we're listening to them, and we are going to, quote, give them something to do, close quote.
I'm glad to hear that because, you know, you have to balance so much. And a couple of years back, I know you were having to make the hours at the community centers, you know, shorten those hours.
Yes.
But now you truly see the need.
Yes, and again, let me make sure, I want to give the council credit. They added money to the budget.
That's wonderful.
So we could extend the hours. We want to extend them even more, and that's what we're working on. We're going to find the money. The summer lunch program, Cigna, one of our good community partners, came in. They heard what we were doing, sent us a check for $130,000 so that kids who don't have, say, they get lunch during the school year, but what happens when they're not in school?
Right.
So we were able to say, look, not only can you come down here and shoot basketball, you can come down here and get a good lunch too.
Maybe we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about Eric Holder's visit to our great city.
Sure.
You're watching Dialogue with Deidre. We'll be back in a moment.
Arm Candy, and on behalf of MUTV1, we would like to wish you a happy holiday and many more to come. Stay beautiful.
Hello, friends. I'm concerned about the health of our African American community. According to the American Heart Association, our rates of high blood pressure in the U.S. are among the highest in the world. And diabetes, obesity, high cholesterol, physical inactivity, poor nutrition, and smoking are causing us to suffer and die from stroke at alarming rates. In 3 John 2, the Bible says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, just as your soul prospers." Visit powertoendstroke.org and become empowered to take care of your health. You are the power to end stroke.
So they say it's a man's world? I don't see anybody's name on it.
While they were doing their thing, we slowly changed ours.
Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Wow, Teller Brown is your drugstore, and your drugstore. Hey, we everyone's drugstore. And we're located at 3333 East Chevy Drive, 794-3690. All medical plans. We support supported living, assisted living. We do it all. And guess what? We even have a $4 plan. Hey, call and ask Dr. Brown about that. I gotta go because she's coming with those boots.
The Carter Malone Group is a full-service public relations agency. Celebrating 10 years of being in business, the Carter Malone Group is located in Midtown Memphis and represents clients across the country. No matter what size your business, if you are interested in promoting your product or service and increasing your market share, contact the firm that can help you meet your goals. The Carter Malone Group. Call 901-278-0881 today.
And now let's take some questions from the public.
Mr. Chairman, why do we keep cutting back on education?
Governor, you want to take that question?
Mr. Chairman, let's give this one to the Senate Majority Leader.
Since this matter was taken up in AB 3712, I think it best if I defer to the Assembly Majority Leader.
Actually, pursuant to Department of Education statutes, the State Secretary of Education would be more qualified to answer. Mr. Secretary.
My legal team has advised me not to comment at this time, so I'll humbly refer to our State Superintendent of Schools.
Pass. Definitely pass. Okay, County Superintendent.
Well, young lady, it's just too complicated.
Can you tell me who's responsible for my education?
That is a good question. Governor?
Repeat the question, please.
I don't see why I can't get an answer from
You're asking a lot of difficult questions.
Oh, she sure is.
Who are you?
Well, I'm the governor.
What is this?
Your 2 minutes are up.
Stop the circus. Contact your legislators at thisbudgetblows.com.
Welcome back to Dialogue with Deidre. I'm your host, Deidre Malone. Mayor AC Wharton, the great mayor of the city of Memphis, is on the show today, and we're talking about all things Memphis. Mayor, before we wrapped up that first segment, I asked you about Eric Holder, U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder, coming to Memphis. Why was he here?
What an honor. The Attorney General was here because back in February, we had been in communication with the White House on what do we do with our young men of color. We were to have had a meeting with the president down in New Orleans. He was not able to make it. I've forgotten what the crisis was. But I and some of my other staff members went down, came up with some interesting plans. The White House, and I'm not name dropping, this is just the way it happened, would call occasionally and say, what are you doing on My Brother's Keeper, which was the president's initiative. We were calling our young men of color, and we signed on immediately. The White House heard about some of the things we were doing, hearings, getting young folks involved and all. So they said, we want the Attorney General to come down.
Wonderful. And
visit. The other thing that attracted them was the way we're doing community-oriented policing here under Director Armstrong. So the Attorney General was well attuned to what we were doing here, some best practices, which is an honor for Memphis. So I'm so glad he was able to visit. Now, just a few days ago, Deidre, I was in the middle of a meeting and I saw a number pop up on my phone, which I thought was from the White House. They called again, wanted to talk about some of the takeaways from that meeting, what we're doing.
That's wonderful.
On the COPS program, some discussions we had with how Memphis is working to head off a Ferguson, not what do you do about Ferguson. The best way to deal with a Ferguson is to prevent a Ferguson.
Right.
Because once the genie is out of the bottle, it's very difficult. So they want to pick up some of the things that we're doing here, some of the suggestions we have, and take them nationwide.
Let me just say, I sat in and I heard your comments, Director Armstrong's comments, and Attorney General Holder's comments, and I was very, impressed with everyone's comments. But for Director Armstrong to talk about his background and for Memphis to be a majority African American city and some of the challenges he has.
Right.
That was very moving. But then for you to talk about a case that was here in Memphis with a young man who had a similar name than Eric Gardner.
Yeah. It's just amazing that the idea, the basic premise that is upheld by the Supreme Court, that when it comes to property type crimes, you don't use deadly force to stop a fleeing suspect.
Right.
That's been the law for 20 years now, yet we're still revisiting that. We're seeing it played out all over America. And as prophetic or weird, I forget, coincidentally, whatever it is, that the young man who was killed by police in Memphis 20 years ago, his name was Garner, just as the young man in New York. So there was a simile there. That whole day was just pregnant with just so, you could feel it, but it was so respectful. I think Memphis is kind of a role model for being, for lack of a better word, proactive. Don't wait for bad things to happen and then go running out. I had, just before I came over here today, members of Hispanic community, Spanish-speaking community. We've had too many crimes against that community. So rather than wait for that to explode, I say, hey, come on down here to the office. And we do that. Director Armstrong does that throughout the city. Not after something happens, but before something happens. That's the best time. And the Attorney General had heard about that. He wanted to come down and...
Very impressive. Mayor, any takeaways from the summit? Anything high level? You waiting to publish something? Or?
Yes. Well, we rolled out our youth plan.
Right.
And by the way, thanks to Light, Gas, and Water, We went down last week, and they approved a checkoff system. This will be the first in the nation in which every customer can say, I want to help these children. I told you earlier about the hearings.
Right.
Young folks were saying, we need something to do. Old folks, and I'll use that term generally, were saying, I want to help. But they were saying, but I can't help 100 children. I can't do this. I can't buy this for them. So I kept pondering that. And I said, and I remember the phrase in the widow's mite. I said, now, how can we come up with a plan or a system in which everybody can give as they can and become invested in the future and welfare of our children? And I kept thinking, I said, we all get a utility bill.
Yes, we do.
If you wish to say, if you're, and it will be, no, that's not enough, you can't give. If you say, I want to add $5 a month to my utility bill, we'll take it. That way, once people begin to feel that they are contributing, they're going to take interest in the, because they're going to say, I'm paying for that.
Exactly,
I got it right.
and I want it to work.
I want it to work. I'm going to make sure the mayor does that. I'm going to make sure, Tony, you'll see when you've heard the old pay the cost to be the boss. Well, the citizens become the boss when they're paying the cost. But the beauty of that also, Deidre, how many churches would go broke if they were to say, no, we can't pass a special collect. We can't take up a special election collection rather. But would it hurt our church too much to say we want to add $50 a month to the utility bill? Would that hurt? I don't think it would. But think of the pride. Think of the pride when I and James Nelson and Director Armstrong show up at Youth Day,
right,
and say, such and such a church, First Baptist Bill, whatever, we want you to see 3 children who have now learned this craft or this job skill, and they did it because your church took part in the program, and we just want y'all to see them here. Do you realize how rewarding that's going to be?
It's powerful. It's going to be great.
And so that's what it is. The money is important, and I hope we get a lot of money. But even if we weren't, just the feeling of almost anybody in this town saying, I'm helping the young folks.
That's right.
It might be at $3 a month.
But But
I'm helping the young folks.
Look, think about the St. Jude model.
Right.
$1 billion.
Yeah.
Sometimes they ask for $1.
Right.
Sometimes they ask for $2.
It
ends up being $1 billion, Mayor.
Yeah, you remember back, I was raised in the country, and Vacation Bible School.
Exactly.
Of course, going to Nashville was a long way for us. You had to try to get a bus. And the church would be so proud they might take up $8. But they
got you there.
They sent the kids, and they get up and give their month report. And we're pleased to report that we sent our children to Nashville. We can go back to that.
Right.
Hopefully, it'll be more than $8. But that's what it's, and that's already been approved.
Good.
We'll be rolling that out.
Okay.
Might calling you to help us communicate that.
Yeah, we'll love to do that.
Right.
Love to do it. Now, I know we've got a couple of things because your time's wrapping up, but I want to hit a couple of other things. Give us a quick update on the rape kit situation.
We're making good progress. We're raising the money. We're getting money from outside sources. And the reason I'm doing that is because these were state laws that brought about these kits. And the money we're spending is carrying out a state function. So I'm trying my best to make sure that the meager resources that the citizens of Memphis have, that we can keep that money for youth programs, summer job programs, and things like that, and use this other money from the state and elsewhere to take care of those kids.
Okay.
But we've tested, I've forgotten right now, probably around 2,000 kits. We're going to get that backlog down. We're going to get the money. The key thing is it will not happen again. Now, so people will understand, actually, we are a victim of our integrity in terms of we didn't throw any of them away.
Right.
Most police departments, oh, what happened to him? Oh, he pled guilty, throw it away. Or what happened? She said she didn't want to prosecute, get rid of it. We're not going to prosecute. Throwing away valuable evidence, because many sexual predators, sexual offenders, they don't just do it one time. So it may be that in this particular case, the victim said, I don't want to prosecute, or the defendant copped a plea. But what about these other cases out here where you could possibly get a match from? And so this inures to the benefit of everybody. This is why we're taking it so seriously. And there are two sides to the scales of justice. You read every day where folks who've been behind bars for many years have been freed because some DNA was discovered.
That's right.
The same DNA that convicts can acquit. So this is why I took it seriously. I said, we're going to look out for the victims, but I want justice to be done as a whole and not partial justice. So this is why we're setting the standard. We have what we call a cross-discipline team. We get everybody in one room, prosecutors, defense attorneys, police officers, counselors, and we're working together so we're not fighting at cross purposes. So, and that's the model that everybody's looking at.
That's wonderful. Economic development. Talk a lot about that, a lot of good things going on. I mean, but you still get pushback, some from, members in the community that I believe don't understand the benefit.
Sure.
Of course, there's going to always be a downside to something, to everything.
Yes.
But the benefit, in most instances, outweigh,
they do now that, particularly since you and other members of EDGE, and thank you for serving on EDGE, have said, mayors, it may be right and proper to work with these large businesses to get them here. We need the jobs, and actually we're not, quote, giving away money, close quote, because even during the pilot, they're paying in hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then once it rolls off, they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. This lot, this property out here where IKEA is going to be located, I think it was paying around $2,000 a year in taxes.
And just think about what's going to happen once they're here.
I mean, just think about it. So we have to do that, simply because we do not have an income tax the way they do in Mississippi, which is our strongest competitor. They take the employee portion of the income tax and pay for the incentives. We don't have one here.
What I hear most in terms of the downside of pilots is we're taking money away from the schools. We continue to take money away from the schools.
Right. Of course, as you well know, the school portion is not abated.
It's not.
That goes there. And then let me just play this little law school type thing with you. How do we fund the schools? We fund it with property taxes. Right. So the more valuable our property, guess what? More property taxes are paid. I can do much more for the schools with a couple of $100,000 that we'll have on this IKEA lot, even during than I can with the $2,000 that is paying out. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
And it's simple.
Because see, they have to agree to improve the property. And think about it, they can't leave town with the real estate.
No.
They're gonna, people, Cargill, because of the economy, closed. But guess what? They're still paying. As long as they got their contract, they can't pack up and leave town and say, I'm not going to pay. They have to pay.
I mean, what's really good about what we're trying to do with EDGE is, I remember reading earlier in the year that Cummings was thinking about closing up and leaving. And in our last EDGE board meeting, they came before us, and I thought, Okay, we've worked something out. They found a piece of property. Looks like they potentially could stay.
Yes.
So we're fighting for every job opportunity, and they're good paying jobs.
That's correct. And see, you may say, well, let them go to Mississippi or wherever. Just let them go. The folks are still going to live up here for the most part. Well, that's true, but you know what? Once they start working down there and they leave the plant or the warehouse on the way back to Memphis and they pass the car dealership down there and somebody out there waiting, before you know it, they're going to buy a car.
In Mississippi.
In
not
Mississippi.
Here. Right, not in Tennessee.
Before you know it, they're going to just say, well, since I'm down here, I buy my groceries down here. I go to the shopping center
buy
down
my
here.
house.
I buy my house down here. You know, the old thing, how you going to keep them down on the farm once they've seen gay party? I mean, once they get down there, how we going to get them back up here?
Right.
So, hey, I want to keep them up here for everything. I don't want to risk somebody going down there, or I just go down there to work. Before you know, they're going to say, you know, I'm getting tired of hitting that interstate every day. I saw a lot over there for sale the other day. But they're gone. They're gone. So I got to keep them up here. The other thing that you're doing at Edge, and I really appreciate the sensitivity. Y'all listen to council members, and when y'all heard them say, well, you're doing this for big business, what are you doing for startups and small businesses?
We listened.
You've got the ICE program, the Inner City Economic Development Program, in which there are grants being made to small businesses. Now, you might say, well, what's $20,000? $15,000, $20,000. Well,
that's a lot for a small business.
That's a lot. I mean, let me tell you, when you need a new facade on your store to clean it up, when your refrigeration system is gone, $20,000?
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, and that's what we're focusing on, redevelop the core city. And EDGE is working hand in hand with us on that. So not only is it a big business thing, EDGE has its ear to the ground. They've done a great job itself of EDGE of hiring minority experts. Carly McCullough, who does the EEO.
She's awesome.
I mean, lawyers. I mean, that staff.
And Mayor, and they pay attention to, Carly and the staff pay attention to, and you've got to give Reed his props.
Right.
Local spend, minority and women-owned business spend. I mean, that's a part of our ask. What are you going to do?
Absolutely. I get, on any given day, most people say, well, I wish we didn't have to use the pilot. Well, it's all we have now to compete. But you have to have equity in it, and that's precisely what EDGE is doing, both in terms of who you employ over there. They look like us.
Exactly.
Your Michael Hooks, your Red Wings, your Carly McCullough, all of these, your Manice Hag, all of these folks, professionals, are actually on the payroll making these big decisions. And they live in the community. You know they're going to look out for the community.
Two last topics, well, three, before you get out of here. The $1 million owed to Shelby County schools, former Memphis City schools. I was glad to hear last week that it looks like there might be a solution to the problem before us. You want to talk to us a little bit about that, Mayor?
Yes. I have to go all the way back when Dr. Cash was here. We had been, well, let me go beyond that. Right after I was elected mayor, city mayor, once the Supreme Court ruled, I went to the city council and said, let's restore the tax rate so we can pay the schools.
I remember.
As a lawyer, I knew that when the Supreme Court speaks, that's pretty much the end of it. And these were schools, these were children we were talking about. It's not like gambling on something. These were children. So, but the council declined, so we had to do some borrowing and all that kind of stuff. I've been trying to negotiate on this for the longest. The decision was made to try mediation, which is fine. But even before then, Superintendent Hobson called and said, "Man, we're grown folks. This is about the children. Can't we do this without this?" I said, "I would love to." So we started talking. Mediation started. Nothing came of it. Superintendent called me again and said, "Man, for the sake of the children, can we work this out without waiting any longer?" As you know, about this time, the state was saying it was going to make a grant out of some federal funds to Davidson Metro and Memphis and Shelby County for pre-K. Had to have a certain match. There was a sense of urgency there. So what I said is, Superintendent, if you come up with a proposal that makes sense, I'll accept it. And that's why it went to his board first. So that's what happened. And I want to applaud his stand-upsmanship on that, because he stood up, laid it out just the way it was. I wanted it to go to their board first, so that it wouldn't appear that this was something that we crammed down their throat, that this is what they wanted. And once he said, here's what we want, I said, let's get it behind us.
So now, next steps, the city council?
Yes. There was a little confusion. As mayor, I have the authority to settle, but the council has to amend the budget.
Okay.
So if they had already placed this money in the budget, then I would not have to go back to the council. It would have been there. But we didn't know this settlement was coming, so we did not put this first installment of $6 million that will come due FY15. So yes, and I look forward to working with them. If they do not like the way I handled it, hold that against me. Don't ransom the children here. Just chastise me, admonish me, whatever. But let's just get this behind us. And then, at home, Deidre, of course it doesn't happen in your house, but every once in a while in my house, when the children were there, we would send the children on upstairs to go to bed before we talk some things out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's go and send the children to bed.
Right.
And then
can have that conversation.
Let's talk it out. You want to call me some name, but the kid is upstairs.
That's right.
Go on. In my case, I said, let's send the kids on back to school. Then we can fight this thing out down here, however you want to. But let's take care of the
want to handle the council.
That's right. Just you want to holler at me, holler at me.
Last two things. Dr. Cleo Kirk. We both I had an opportunity to serve with him, and I know he was a dear friend of yours, and
mentor.
Exactly. You were county mayor, and you had an opportunity to work with him.
Yeah. Let me tell you, before you can be a teacher, you have to be a student.
That's right.
And he was a good example of that. He was a student of the late Dr. Vasco
Yes,
Smith.
he was. Yes, he was.
He listened. Dr. Kirk was a quiet man. He followed the old school, the thought that God gave you 2 ears and one mouth because he wanted you to listen twice as much as you talk.
Right.
He listened. Had big ears. He listened well at Vasco Smith. And he listened to the late Jesse Turner,
yes, he did,
who has been one of the most astute financial minds ever to serve any government, not just county government. So he was their student. But then he became a teacher of younger folks like me when we came into government. A gentle giant, a man who stood tall, one of the most compassionate.
He just was.
And he didn't get freaked out. Oh, we might have to raise taxes.
Right.
If it was to do justice in the public defender's office where I was serving, if it was to build a school and it needed some tax money, to Dr. Kirk, that was a no-brainer.
Right.
What's justice? What's the price tag on that? Education. What's the price tag on that? And he just epitomized those good old basic values. Let me wrap it up this way. Good country boy values.
Yes.
He was from Dyersburg. I was from Lebanon, Tennessee. He was just plain old, just non-polished Cleo Kirk. It looked as if his heart was just out on his chest. You could just see his heart in everything that he did.
Mayor, he just believed in our community. I mean, I served with him for 4 years, and I followed him as budget chairman. But he had set it up, so it was just a no-brainer for me, and after just learning from him.
And let me tell you, it was so astute the way he did it. Now, I'm county mayor, and we're working on roads and things way out there. And he sent a note up, maybe he came up, and there was something down near Boxtown.
Exactly.
Well, the people under me said, oh, well, that's in the city. Dr. Kirk said, Holmes Road is in the county, too. The city's in the county, isn't it? I said, yeah. That's why we need to do something on it. Yes, it's in the city, but the city's in the county.
No brainer.
No brainer. I said, Dr. Kirk, I got you. Let's get the road done. That's who he was.
Dr. Kirk. Okay, so 2015, you running for re-election?
Yes, full speed, final term. Some say, well, what, Mayor, you've been at it a long time. Well, you were mentioning earlier some of the good things that are happening in our city. We're getting city government back on a strong financial footing. We're going to be able to do so much more in terms of blight and summer youth programs, infrastructure throughout the core city. So I want to bring those things to fruition. Now is the time we're seeing development all over the city. The Raleigh Springs Mall will have some announcements out there soon.
Good.
Whitehaven, we've already heard about Southbrook. Graceland that Councilman Collins has taken the lead on. So it's not just a matter of, oh, they're just doing it downtown. You just wait until you see what we're going to do out around the fairgrounds. Notice I said around the fairgrounds, because this takes care of Orange Mound, Beltline, all of those areas. So we're being very strategic to make sure that the entirety of this city enjoys the good things that are happening, not just downtown, because I stand by downtown, Beale Street.
Yes.
Hey, let me tell you, you've heard the song, Take Me to the River? I'm taking Beale Street to the river.
Good.
We're taking it all the way. We got folks lining up to say they want to develop down through there.
Wonderful.
That is a real magnet. Bass Pro, they said it would never happen. It is going to happen. 600 jobs, not to mention the sales tax dollars that
I'm
will
just excited
roll
about it
in
as
here.
someone who took the tour in Springfield and thought, why do we want this downtown? After taking that tour, it's going to be themed to our region.
Absolutely.
And I'm so excited about it.
Right, absolutely. And then
I might
just,
go buy me a shotgun.
or a bass boat.
Right.
Just think, Deidre, folks, like going to IKEA is a destination.
Right.
It is not a, let me run in here and buy a chair.
Right.
I mean, that's a day.
People
That's
would go to Atlanta,
Yes.
just to go visit.
So
their
just
store.
imagine, if you will, as opposed to running in here, buying a chair and tucking on out, you come, you spend one day at IKEA, get your good night's rest, because you'll need that, then you head down to Bass Pro. That's a day, and guess what they're going to be doing?
Spending money.
Spending money. Guess who's going to be racking it up? The citizens of Memphis.
Citizens of Memphis.
So there's so many things going on. Again, I keep emphasizing that we're going to develop, redevelop, clean up the core sections of our city all over. We're going to make it cleaner. The pathways to school that we announced just the other day, you're going to see that all over the city. So great things, and I want, for my last term, I want to be in the lead on that, make this a brighter and a better place.
Well, you've done a great job you were a great county mayor, and you've been a great city mayor, even with the challenges that you've had.
Right.
And so, as you know, I look forward to supporting you.
And I
in
really
2015, and let's
so
just
much
make it happen.
We're going to make it happen. And so, if you were to say, well, Mayor, what about a good resolution? I always look for areas of improvement. I want a better working relationship with the council. I am going to do my darndest to see that happens. Our children need to see that.
Exactly.
And I'm going to do my part on that.
So, Happy New Year, and good luck on that New Year's resolution.
Thank you so much. Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, and the whole this season that we'll be in by the time folks see this. And thanks for letting me come back. Best to you and your family.
Thank you. You too, Mayor, and we'll definitely have you come back next year.
Thank you so much. Take care.
And you've been watching Dialogue with Deidre. We've had a great show. The Mayor of Memphis, Mayor AC Wharton, has been our guest. I want to wish each and every one of you a Merry Christmas and a very prosperous New Year, and we'll see you on the other side in 2015. Enjoy the rest of the year.